What's going on, guys? My name's Kyle, and today's video is going to be about how to make $100 a day on Amazon and finding that right product to get you there. So when most people are looking for products on Amazon, they stay within the $10 to $15 range, and they are kind of scared about the higher price point products because usually it costs more upfront, and on top of that, it's kind of daunting to sell these higher price products. So right here I have an Excel sheet that I made kind of pointing out the different price points of products that you can sell and then the corresponding amount of units you have to sell to make your $100 profit. To make this easy, I just said that profit was 50% of your total revenue for the product that you're selling, which has been the case for most of the products that I've sold. So for a product that is $20, you have to sell 10 units to get the $100 because you have $200 of revenue or how much money you take in, but then your overall costs is about half of that total price that you're selling to your customers. So it ends up being $100 back into your pocket. So a lot of people will try to go for that or like that price range where they have to sell more of that product. So right here, let's say you're selling at $12.50, you have to sell 16 units to make $100. But that same $100 can be made from selling 5 units at $40, right? So even though you're finding products that are selling a lot and have really high volume on Amazon, it isn't always necessarily better than products that are selling less per month but have these higher price points because you have to sell less of them to get the same amount of money and profit. So to find products like these, my favorite app to use is Jungle Scout, and I've used that for all of my different products that I've found to sell online. And there's two different applications that they have. One is the web app. So for the web app, it gives you their database with a bunch of different products, and you're able to kind of narrow down all the products on Amazon to products that meet your certain criteria. So when you're selling on Amazon, you want to sell things, above a certain price threshold, because if you sell products for like $2, there's no profit to be made there really because of Amazon fees. So usually you want to stay above $10, and then you can also put into account how much Jungle Scout estimates those products are selling. So that's what the database does, along with their Chrome extension, which essentially, when you're in Amazon, it pulls up from their, algorithms and whatever else they have to determine an estimate of how much each product is selling. So the combination of the two is really powerful in being able to find niches that are going to be profitable for you to sell in. But first, I'm going to just go into the web app. And like we were talking about before, it makes sense to have, you need to be doing different searches, right? So just because, the goal is to be making that $100 a day, right? So when you're going into price, instead of just putting in, $12 to $20 and an estimated sales, or you can just leave the price blank, but some people just put in, okay, that has to have 400 sales a month. That's a good goal to have. But they're missing out on a ton of products that are maybe only selling 50 units a month, but their price point is $70. So there's a ton of products that people just overlook because they're not putting in the correct parameters on Jungle Scout. So if you want, you can pause the video and look at the different categories I have. But basically, the ones I have selected are the easiest to sell in because they're usually not as complicated of products. And on top of that, the types of products are usually not patented compared to like books or certain appliances. So I don't have those ones on, but different, kitchen and dining tools aren't going to be usually as difficult to get into. So you have all that category set up, and then you need to be doing different searches. So there's not just one basic search that you can do that will get everything. So the best way to do it is to look at different price points and see what is doing the best for those price points, and then you can look through those different those products. Another way you can do it is by, instead of doing sales, you just don't worry about sales at all and you go into revenue. And so if you know that you want to be making $100 a day, that's that means they're making $200 in revenue, let's say, per day. And for 30 days, you just multiply the two, and that comes out to be 6,000 revenue. So you can do 6,000 revenue minimum, and that's one way you can have everything come in for those price ranges. So that can work. Or you can take the alternative approach of changing the price point down to whatever estimated sales you have put in. So instead of doing an estimated revenue of 6,000, you can go in and say, okay, for the price range from 60 to 80 dollars, I want there to be 100 sales a day, and that way they're making 6,000 revenue or whatever your goal is to find. So right off the bat, we'll just start with the estimated revenue, and then reviews. I usually do it under 80, but you can do under 100 or under 25. But the general rule of thumb is that the more reviews are on a product, generally the more mature the niche is and more difficult it can be to get into that niche. So usually I leave it at 80. We can just do 100 for the sake of this test. And then that's pretty much it. And then you can just go down to search, and then it'll bring up all the different products that meet that criteria. And because we have, it's a pretty broad range, we're going to have a ton of results. So right here, it's 50,000 results that meet that criteria. Once you're in here, you can just go through, and I'm pretty sure it's alphabetized right off the bat, or you can just go straight into, okay, I want to see, the highest revenue earners. So I just click that little arrow, and then it'll bring me what has the, the most revenue, and that will take into account the sales and the price of the product. Most of these are going to be not able to be sold by your company because, let's say, a lot of them have patents, or a lot of them are just big brands that have that presence online that will be hard to compete with as a newer seller on Amazon. Or they're just things like vitamins, like right here. You can't sell vitamins online without going through a bunch of different hurdles. So it's not really a good first product to take. This right here could be something that we could sell, an ultrasonic pest control. We're looking at the brand Forzus. I've never heard of it. And then they only have, they have 7,000 sales a day, which is huge, or 7,000 sales a month, which is huge. It's lightweight, and it has pretty bad reviews. So I'm kind of surprised by that. So we can go in and look. So once we're on the Amazon page, we can copy and paste the main keywords from that Amazon page, put it back into Amazon, and then pull up the entire search results for that niche on Amazon. So I'll go ahead and do that right now. For ultrasonic pest control repeller, you just read the whole thing and then select the keywords that without them it wouldn't make sense and you wouldn't be able to find the product. So all of this, mice, mouse, bed bugs, spiders, that is not relevant really to the main search results. What's the most important is ultrasonic pest control repeller. So we'll take that, copy that, and then throw it into the search bar. So now that we copied and pasted that into the search bar, automatically it's going to have the category that it was found in, and that will skew your results because it won't have all of the different products. So just go and put it into all departments and then search, because some people will put it under the wrong category. So we went ahead and did that, and then it pulls up all of the different bug repellents. And so we can go in, click on our Jungle Scout Chrome app, Chrome extension, and that will pull up all of the different results. And then we can go ahead and look at the brands, the different price points, and then the sales for all the different products. So as we can see for this, the sales seem to be there. On average, at the top, it says 1,400, but it's good to go through and just look. Some of these are pretty low, like this one's 29 and 79, but overall it seems okay. The only thing that worries me is that a lot of these have slightly higher reviews, like 236 and 311, but there are some that are doing well, like this one with only 9 reviews and sales of 7,600. So with that high of sales, the only thing that kind of seems weird is that it does have low reviews with that high of sales. So something that you can do is track this product basically using the Jungle Scout web app. So what we can do is on here, we'll just go through and we'll click it, and it'll automatically pull up the product page. So right now it's out of stock, it looks like. Well, maybe not. Regardless, what we can do is go ahead and take the ASIN, which we can scroll down, and then in the very bottom of all of this, we can go to the product information, and then the ASIN is like the individual number that Amazon assigns this product. So it's numbers and letters. You can just go ahead and copy and paste that, and then we'll go back into the Jungle Scout web app, and then go into the product tracker setting. And then we can go ahead and add that product right here, and then add to tracker. And then we can go ahead and monitor this. Instead of doing it manually and every day going in and looking, we can add it in and make sure that it's maintaining that 72 sales a day average. Because what some people will do is they'll give away a ton of products, and it will overinflate their or Jungle Scout's estimates, because they assume, okay, well, they sold 80 today, and so they automatically fill in the rest. If they sold 80 today, that means they sold 2,600 over the course of a month. So this kind of prevents that, unless they're giving away 80 every single day for the month, but that's really unlikely because they'll be losing a ton of money. And people do those giveaways so they can rank really high. So that's kind of something to be skeptical about. So if you add it into this product tracker, you can just come in here every day and then look at all the different products that you added in and see if they're maintaining those sales. And if they are, over the course of a week, you can be like, okay, looks good, they're selling well. Go back in, make sure all the other products look about the same as far as what they were. And then you can go ahead as far as ordering the product and start selling it yourself. One thing I will say is that instead of just putting 1 in here, if we were actually looking to sell this product, we would go in and add the number 1 seller, and then maybe a number 3, and then a number 10 on the first page, just so you have a good idea of how everyone's performing long term. Because just because everyone's performing well in one day doesn't mean it's a good product for you to get into in the long term, because it could be going downhill, or maybe they're just doing a bunch of giveaways and having that overinflated response from Jungle Scout. So I did that same thing with the Angleizer tools, for example. So I went in and I took the number 1 seller, number 3, and then number 10. And so when I'm looking at this right here, what I noticed is that number 1 seller was this one right here at the bottom. They were still doing very well, selling 27 a day. But what I noticed was that they're selling a lot at a lower price point. So if they're selling, let's say 30 a day, but their price point, it says the average is 10, but right now they're going for like $7. And so at $7, they're probably making little to no profit. And as we can see from, our $100 a day, if they're selling at $7, I mean, maybe they're making $100 a day. And that's something that we don't necessarily want to have for our product, because if the number 1 seller is barely making $100 a day, that's not something that you would want to get into, because theoretically you want to be making $100 a day as well, or more. And if you have to be the number 1 seller to do that, it's not a good product to get into. You can see, the other ones. The number 3 guy was this. He's selling on average 6 a day at $12, and that his daily revenue per day is $70. Let's say he makes half back in profit. I mean, that's being generous. So he's making $35 a day. That's not bad, but there's just other products that you can do better with. So like, you obviously could go in and try to sell with something that's only making $35 a day. But compared to other opportunities that are available, you would be wasting your time because you can be making more for that product. And then the guy that was on 10th, he was not even selling any. It's definitely important to have more information on here, because if I only had this number one guy, my opinion would be swayed because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, wow, he's selling 30 a day. This is a great product for me to get into. When in reality, the rest of the market's doing poorly, and even for him, he's selling at a low price point that isn't really making that much money to begin with. So that's definitely something that you need to be aware of when you're tracking and looking into different products, is just throwing them in the product tracker and then analyzing their the data that comes in over the course of a week, and just being aware that they could just skew all over the place, or they could maintain what you originally saw, and that means that it's probably a good product to get into, and you can go ahead and looking for suppliers and continuing on with all those different things. So going back to the ultrasonic pest control repeller, what we would want to see is we want to make $100 a day at least from this product. And that's a good goal to set. So we're going in and we see, okay, the average price is $37, let's say. So we can go into our $100 a day Excel sheet, go in here and we say, okay, wow, they only need to sell about 5 to 6 of these a day if they're making 50% profit off of it. We're just assuming, and they're making that $100. So if they're selling, if they're selling 6 to like anything above 6, basically, we're pretty excited about that product because they should be, selling enough of them to be making a decent profit. Now, there's more that goes into it. You can't just sell the exact same product. You definitely can, but when you're selling products, it would make sense to try to make them better. That way you can even do better than the people that are already in the market. But generally, this is just what you look at, and now we know what to look for. So not necessarily, they don't need to be selling 10 a day. Even if it's a little bit under 10 a day, we know that they're still profitable from the generalizations that we make and assumptions about the product. But it's not like they need to be selling a bunch. And at the same time, we can look at products that are selling for cheaper, and even if they are selling 10 a day, we realize, okay, well, wow, they're selling at $10 and they're selling 10 a day. That's not going to be enough. That means they're only making $50 a day in profit. We know we can do better than that. So those are just some ideas about when you're that can help you with your product research, and just realizing that just because the sales are there doesn't necessarily mean that that's better than a product that's just at a higher price point that's selling less. At the same time, with those higher priced products, when you're making your initial order, you don't need to be making a huge order of that because they're selling less. Versus, if it's a $10 product and you need 20 a day, your initial purchase from your supplier would need to be, at least 600, because it needs to last you a month. I would probably do more than that because lead times are often, 2 to 3 weeks, which is, the time it takes for them to even create or produce the product and send it out to you. So you'd probably want a month and a half of leeway with your product, assuming you're selling 20 a day. So, you need to almost buy 1,000 of that product, versus the $40 product you can buy significantly less because you're expecting only to sell about 5 a day, but you're still making that same profit off of that product. So it's not always necessarily better to sell those cheaper products. Sometimes it can be, you can find little diamonds in the rough at these higher price points, just like we saw with this ultrasonic pest controller. They are selling a ton a day, which is great, but you can just realize that you don't necessarily have to sell as many of them to be making that revenue and profit at the end of the day. I'm just assuming that you can buy this for relatively cheap, but obviously do your research into Alibaba. So I just went into Alibaba real quick and searched pest control ultrasonic repel, and I just scrolled down really quick and I can get an idea of how much it's going to cost to do this, and I can see the exact same product that they were selling over here in this example. It's like the exact same picture and everything. So we know that they're selling those, and we can go over here, and they're selling them for $2.50 to $5 a piece, depending on how many pieces you buy. Right. So at that $5 price point, I mean, that's way less than I thought it would be. I mean, they're making a killing with the the different price point because of it's only $5 and they're selling them for 40, and fees are probably another $5. So that's a $30 markup that they're doing and getting off of those sales. So that's even more than I was explaining earlier with that product. Obviously, there's huge problems with uh, how much it works just because it's 2 out of 5 stars. But the idea is that you can make a huge profit off of these more expensive um, products on Amazon using different search criteria on Jungle Scout and then utilizing their product tracker and their Chrome extension to help you analyze the different niches and products. One last thing is I wanted to just bring in two of my products that I've sold and how many units I had to sell per day from the different price points. Both of these, the cost was about half of what I was selling it for. So that's why I just make that assumption, and most products I've seen are like that. But what I wanted to say is that for making $100 per day on my $12.99 product I was selling at, I had to sell 16 of them versus this product I was selling usually at $19.99, and I only had to sell 9 to make my profit of $100 a day. So it can be hugely beneficial to broaden your search terms and think outside the box on different products that maybe not you might not sell as many of them and not like a huge amount of units and volume, but because of the price point you can still make a good amount of money from it. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Hope you guys were able to kind of get a better idea of different ways you can use Jungle Scout to find products that you can sell on Amazon, and then like understanding that just because products are selling a lot doesn't mean necessarily that there's a equal amount of profit to be had with those products, and being able to find higher priced products that you can sell and still make that same amount of money, or the usual goal of $100 a day. I'll have links down below if you want to use Jungle Scout, utilizing their web app and their Chrome extension, and I think that'll help you guys out a lot with being able to find products that are kind of outside the box and able to get you that $100 a day. Thanks.